Thank you for watching us on YouTube. But did you know that if you're on the go, you can get the full show as a podcast now? You can get our morning breakdown of the most important topics facing our country, news not being covered by the mainstream media, interviews with change-making progressives, and info on what you can actually do about all this. Search for The Damage Report on your favorite podcast app and subscribe so you know when new episodes are ready to go. So my hope is that by the time we get some sane politicians in office, there will still be an environment left to protect. And along that way, we're joined now on the show by one of the men, an activist who's been working to protect that environment. This is James Cromwell, actor, environmental activist. Welcome to the show, Jamie.
Thank you, nice to be here.
It's great to have you here. So one of the reasons I wanted to talk with you is that California is close to passing a bill which aims to create a situation of 100% renewable energy production inside of California within the next couple of decades. It's not quite done yet, and there's still a lot of work that would have to be done to actually achieve that goal once the law is passed. But as a longtime activist, how do you greet news of a bill like that?
Of course, it's great news, and of course, it's California, and California is head of the rest of the nation, except Hawaii got there first.
Yes.
The problematic part of it is in our trial when we were arrested for blocking the entryway to this power plant that's in my community called CPV. Tony Ingraffia, one of the preeminent environmentalists and global warming experts, indicated to the court in his testimony that we had between 4 and 6 years to turn this around. But he has since that reevaluated this, and he now says we have 2 years at most. Now, if you're going to try to accomplish this through a legislative process, with all the planning that needs to go and all the resistance that you get from the power elites who have bought the politicians who make these decisions, then I think you're going to work too slow. We have to work faster than that. And that is electing people to government that will do the bidding of the American people that voted them in and not the donors that gave them the money to get there.
I couldn't agree more. And while I'm excited about bills like that, I see all these roadmaps, both for international and national efforts to stop climate change. All of them are 30, 50, 70-year plans. Many of them include a heavy reliance on natural gas along the way, which, as we know, is far worse for the climate than carbon dioxide. So I guess you've laid out a potential path. How much hope do you have that we will actually walk that path?
Well, you have to have hope. If you don't have hope, it gets to be really grim. I mean, that's one of the problems with the presentation of the global warming problem, is that major corporate media has basically banned the word global warming and climate change because they claim that when they have programs about these issues, they're so depressing. The news is so negative that their ratings go down.
Yeah.
On the other hand, when a report comes out, as the recent one did, Hot House Earth, and it comes out and states what our problem is and how quickly we have to adjust, they tend to blow it out of proportion. I can't quite decide why they do that, except to terrify everybody and drive everybody into a panic.
Yeah.
There are things, most experts agree that there are things that we could do right away. We did this when the chips were down during World War II. We've had a planned economy instead of an open free market, which mandated certain approaches to our use of resources, what products were produced, how much was produced, and to what effect. And if we don't do that right away, if we don't get politicians to get on this, then we will basically lose the opportunity.
Well, see, you point out the way that they tend to report on things like this. I think part of the problem is that the average person in the media knows absolutely nothing about the science behind climate change, which leads them to not want to talk about it in the first place because they don't understand it. And when they do, they either wildly exaggerate or misstate the science. So I'm curious though, you've worked with a number of politicians in your activism. Are there people out there right now in politics that you think are good on this issue, that understand the challenge that we face and are actually working to face it?
There are many more than the major media will give you an idea that exist That's why I listen to the Young Turks, because that's where you hear about the people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and you hear about what Bernie. Most people who are in the progressive part of the Democratic Party, or trying to take the Democratic Party back from the neoliberals that control it right now, are aware of what is at stake, aware at what the policies that have to be adopted if we're going to really handle this, and are committed. And that's what we need. We need more and more committed, not only on a federal level, but on a state level. You had a wonderful woman on, Camilla Malik. There's Cynthia Nixon, an erstwhile progressive, who talks about the corruption in New York that led to the competitive power venture plant that's here in Wayanda, but she refuses to talk about CPV. She talked about Percoco, but she's not talking about what needs to be done, which is to shut this plant down, which was only made possible by the corruption of the Cuomo administration.
Yeah.
So it takes everybody to understand, because it's nuanced, but it's also intersectional. It involves every issue: political corruption, an understanding of the science, an understanding of political will, a willingness to tell the truth, to speak truth to power. All of these things have to be galvanized in a direction by people who understand what's at stake.
And if anyone watching this would like to see our interview with Pramila Malik from last week, that's now up on YouTube, and her election is coming up actually very soon. And she seems like exactly one of the sorts of politicians that you're talking about.
She is.
So I do want to ask you one thing. So the point of this show is to address the real threats facing us and then give people something they can actually do about it. So as someone who's worked in this area, you've been an activist, someone who cares about the environment who's watching this show, what is something that you would advise them to go out and do that would actually help this situation?
Okay, first you have to inform yourself. You have to know what you're talking about. Then you have to know what's happening locally. How does it affect you? Because you need community support. Everybody has to be galvanized, and they get more committed when the issue is local, when it affects them. It affects their livelihoods. It affects their health and the health of their children and the health of their communities. That's first. Secondly, inform yourself about what people are offering as solutions. One of the things that we could transform, which very few climate scientists and environmentalists talk about, which is the agricultural sector.
Yes.
We cannot continue to raise and slaughter animals at the rate that we do, and the effect that it has on the environment, both in water use, the release of methane, energy. We have to change this. We also have to change our transportation system. Not that you can cut out diesel trucks, but must we have a centralized system which allows long haulage of produce instead of using local markets? People have got to develop. That is also a very comprehensive and multifaceted idea that has to be organized by people who understand the issue and then are committed to engaging the public and serving the public, informing the public, and empowering the public to force our leaders to adopt a more sane and sensible plan towards what's happening to this climate.
Well, James Cromwell, I want to thank you for joining our show, helping break down some of these issues, and also thank you for your advocacy.
Thank you, Blair.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you very much for watching this clip from The Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notified of our new videos. And catch The Damage Report every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.